Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is going to be the start of another writing vlog. In this vlog, I am going to be starting draft number 2 of my historical mystery manuscript nicknamed Project Dagger. I finished draft 1 of Project Dagger, my sort of Agatha Christie-inspired historical mystery, about 3 weeks ago. I took some time away from it so that I could be more impartial, and it was really hard because I just wanted to dive into edits right away. But it was important for me to take that time away from it, and now I'm finally ready to start on draft number 2. I did a little bit last night, though I really only got through the first 900 words or so. I am going to have an entirely new document for draft number 2, and I'm sort of going to go chunk by chunk, copying and pasting from my original document and rewriting the things that need to be rewritten. I did allow myself to do one thing related to Dagger in the past 3 weeks. I watched a lot of YouTube videos with tips for editing your own writing, and several people recommended doing a fast read through where basically you just go through your book very quickly without stopping. You know, maybe you can fix a typo here or there, but just try to keep reading it as if you were reading a book somebody else wrote. And so what I did was I read the entire first draft using the read aloud feature on Microsoft Word. So I was having that automated voice read the entire book to me. And that helped me see how it was flowing and get ideas for what I wanted to fix. So what I did is I went through every single chapter and I took notes on what I wanted to fix in draft 2. So these notes are going to help and guide me as I start on these edits. I also highlighted certain portions of the text where I wasn't sure if it was working and used the strike through feature on sections that I was thinking about deleting so that when I was working on draft 2, I could specifically see that those were sections or sentences I identified as problem areas. So we're gonna have larger plot edits and also smaller sentence level edits to work on. I am very excited to work on these changes, and I'm feeling good about Project Dagger and how I can make it better in draft 2. So I think that's about it for this introduction, and let's just get to work. Hello. It is now the end of the workday pretty much, and I have worked on the first 3 chapters of Project Dagger draft 2. It's really annoying, so I don't know if I mentioned this in my vlogs before, but apparently my version of Microsoft Word is out of date. I need to buy a newer version. And so very annoyingly, sometimes my document will randomly turn into a read-only document and I have to exit out and start again. It is very irritating. So at some point soon, I need to pay up and get the new version of Word, but I don't really want to, you know? The good thing about Word is you're supposed to be able to buy it once and then just keep using it on multiple devices, but apparently now I have to pay again because my version is too old. So that stinks, but at some point I'm gonna have to pay for it because obviously Word is just so important to have, and you can use Google Docs, but I think there are some features that are only in Microsoft Word, and I just also personally like using Word. So anyways, that's my little my little complaint. Now, one of the things that I'm doing in draft 2 is I am changing one of the characters' names. In the past, when I've tried to work on writing projects, I have told myself, oh, I'll give this character a placeholder name and pick something else later. And whenever I did that, the placeholder name would always end up becoming their name, just because I think once I start thinking about a character with a certain name, that's who they are to me. But I realized that the name I picked for this character isn't really gonna work, in my opinion. So the character, he is mentioned as being Jewish, and I gave him the name Jack. which you might think, like, Jackie, what's wrong with his name being Jack? It's a name that I personally like. I think it's cute, but if someday I decide to reproduce, I would not use it because people would think I named the kid after myself. So I was like, let's just call him Jack. But traditionally, Jack is short for John, which is just so New Testament. So I don't feel like a Jewish character is gonna be named Jack. Didn't think about it because nowadays, Jack is its own name. Like, you meet plenty of kids who are just named Jack, not short for anything. But historically, it was a nickname for John, and I'm not certain if at the time this character would have been born, if Jack would have existed as its own standalone name yet. And I read online, some people are like, well, Jack can also be a nickname for Jacob, but I feel like when people's minds are gonna go to John. So maybe it's not that big a deal, but I just feel like he needs to have another name. And also, you know, nowadays, lots of people pick names that aren't from their own culture. My full name is Jacqueline, which is French. And as far as I'm aware, my family does not have a drop of French blood. But again, this character, he would have been born at the tail end of the 1800s. His parents would not have been on baby name websites. And I don't think Jack was necessarily its own standalone name yet. So just to be on the safe side and not unnecessarily take anyone out of the story, he is now going to have a new name. And I do like the new name that I picked out. Actually, it kind of worked out because I feel like there's some symbolism behind this new name that is unexpectedly wonderful. But I'm gonna have to get used to his new name now. He is no longer Jack. So that's one of the things that I'm doing in this second draft. But just gonna keep at it, get used to his new name. So if you're wondering what is in these folders, I will tell you. These are actually folders filled with feedback that I received during some of my college writing classes, and I'm going to read them now for the first time in probably like 5 years. I kind of got this idea because I was talking to one of my friends and I had mentioned that I still had all of this, and she said, you know, I think that would be really interesting to reread the feedback and see what they said and if any of their comments still resonate with you. And I thought that was a really good idea. It should be interesting, and there were some people who said really kind things to me that actually I still remember all these years later, you know? Yeah, you know, being nice to people, this is a tangent, but when you are nice to people, you don't realize how something so seemingly insignificant can really stay with them for a long time. Because, like, there were people in my class who said really kind things about my writing and the future they thought I was going to have, and they probably don't think about me. But I still remember that they said those nice things to me and how it made me feel. So I'm gonna read these and I'll tell you anything particularly interesting that I find. All right, these are critiques for a short story that I wrote when I think I was like a sophomore or a freshman, I don't remember. And it was sort of like a medieval-ish story. I don't know if it was technically historical fiction or fantasy, but I'd been watching a lot of Game of Thrones at the time, right? So it was that sort of vibe, a little bit murderous, and okay, this is the piece of feedback that I think about all the time, where she says, "What another wonderful story. I am not surprised, though. It has been such a pleasure reading your pieces for the past 2 semesters, and I can't wait to say I knew you when you are a famous writer one day." I think about this all the time. Like, that's one of the nicest things someone has ever said to me. I can't wait to say I knew you when you are a famous writer one day. Marissa, you'll probably never see this video, but if you do, Marissa, thank you. Like, I think about this all of the time. And even right now, I'm like giggling just thinking about it. That's one of the nicest things anyone's ever said to me, honestly. Oh, this one says, "I am always astounded by your amazing talent." Oh, that's so sweet. She has beautiful handwriting too. Like, look at that. Gorgeous. Oh my God. This is like making me giddy. I'm like blushing and giggling, like reading these compliments. Oh, and I still have extra copies of the story from the campus print shop. I guess they printed too much or people were absent. I wrote this in 2018, so I was 19 years old when I wrote this. Goodness. I kind of want to reread it, but I'm also like worried I'm going to be embarrassed by it now, 6 years later. Oh, and I have my professor's notes here. She gave me an A-, so not bad. The one comment that she made is she felt like the character who was narrating the story, there were some instances where I could have developed his reactions a bit more. And I feel like that is advice that potentially still applies to me, because when, a few months ago, I mentioned that my query letter and my opening pages were critiqued on my favorite writing podcast. And one thing that one of the agents mentioned was that she felt like there were instances for more interiority that I hadn't fully realized. And so that's something that I'm keeping in mind, because when I wrote that book, I thought that I had been successful at developing interiority and characters' reactions to things, but maybe there's still some more room for growth there. I love how one of the guys, he wrote, "This story was a wonderful break from the usual stories we read in class." The shade, oh my goodness. There's also some feedback in here for a poem, and I honestly don't remember what this poem was that I wrote. And we also had an assignment where we had to write a monologue. I believe, I could be wrong, I think we had to write a monologue like from a historical figure or a real life person. And so I wrote mine about Anne Boleyn before her execution, the night before her execution. And it says that I think we read all of these blindly, not knowing who wrote them. And mine came in 3rd place in the class, so not bad. I think the girl who got 1st place, I believe she wrote a dramatic monologue from the perspective of the prostitute who Vincent van Gogh gave his ear to. And I just remember it being really good. I think she came in 1st. And then this story I remember very well, and I guess it was kind of like a historical mystery, though I didn't know what that was at the time, because it is historical and it does involve a member of a very wealthy family being murdered. And it was actually inspired by the Kennedys and what happened to Rosemary Kennedy, who basically her family had her lobotomized, and the lobotomy resulted in her being physically and mentally disabled for the rest of her life. So that was the inspiration for the story. It was based on those real events. Because, when I heard her story, I just thought it was so tragic that her own father did that to her, that he cared about his political reputation so much that he was willing to do that to his own child. So that was the inspiration for the story. And it was, this very posh but troubled family who lives, off the Massachusetts coast, in this, sort of Martha's Vineyard vibe. So I remember this story very well. And the very first sentence was, "The Kingsleys of Angel Island were the closest thing America had to a royal family." Which I feel like is actually not a terrible sentence. Good job, 19-year-old Jackie. All right, I'm done reading the comments and I have to go to dinner, so I'll wrap this up. The comments on that one were all pretty complimentary. A lot of them said they didn't understand if it was a lobotomy or not, so I guess my subtlety either was too subtle or it just went over their heads. I might reread this later, because I do remember it, and I feel like it was pretty good, but anyways, all right. This has been fun, and I have to go. here I am hunched over my kitchen counter. Honestly, I was planning to go to the coffee shop to get work done on my draft today. I literally charged my computer last night for the sole purpose of getting it to be 100% in the morning. But now I don't think I want to. I just don't feel like it. So I guess I'm just gonna work on my draft at home. Maybe I'll go sit outside if it's not too hot, but yeah, I just don't feel like going out today. I am about to start chapter 6 in draft 2. I think the book only has, well, hold on, let me get my outline. I'll tell you exactly how many chapters it has. Okay, I'm back. So this manuscript only has 24 chapters and an epilogue, whereas my last manuscript, I believe, had 40 chapters and an epilogue. So lower on the chapter count, but to be honest, I think some of these chapters I need to break up in editing because some of them I think just go on for far too long. And I know that a lot of readers would rather have a shorter chapter as opposed to a longer chapter. I've also been working on these potential mixed media elements like I talked about, just to see if I like them, if I like what they're adding to the story. But we're gonna keep on keeping on. And I am going out of the country next week. So I wanna see how much I can get done before then. I don't think I can finish the entire second draft in the next week, but hopefully I can make some good progress. Right now, I'm gonna have lunch and then I'm gonna get to work. It's a couple hours later and one glass of wine while you're working on your draft can't hurt, surely. Even if it's 3:30, but why not? And I'm having some of these delicious truffle potato chips. I put them in a bowl just so I don't eat half the bag. Hello, I know I do not look so hot right now with no makeup on and a dried zit on my chin, but I have been making progress on my draft and I just checked and actually, even though I have pasted in these mixed media elements and added things to scenes, so far I've only added 634 words to the draft. I think because, you know, I've also deleted a lot of stuff. I've realized there were parts that were redundant or where I felt like the sentences were too wordy and I could have said the same thing in a more straightforward way. So even though I suspect I've added a lot more than 634 words, so far in 10 chapters, that's the net gain, which honestly is really good. So let me do the math really quick. That means we can estimate currently that my manuscript will be 87,032 words, which is still a lot shorter than my last one. That is my update for now. I'm probably going to wrap up this vlog soon because I'm going out of the country on Friday night, or actually Saturday, but my flight to New York City is on Friday night. Hello everyone, so I'm here to wrap up this vlog. I have edited the first 11, I believe, chapters of Project Dagger, though actually those 11 chapters have now become 12 chapters because I did divide one in half. I think I just made some of the chapters too long in my previous manuscript. Since it was a very simple dual narration, it was always very easy to know when it should be a chapter break, because just whenever we switch perspectives, we would switch to a different chapter. And since this book is told in a little bit of a different format, I think there were some times I didn't realize that the chapter had been going on for quite so long. And I know a lot of readers say they just prefer shorter chapters, so that's something that I'm trying to keep in mind. But I am happy with the progress that I've made so far. The draft was, I think I said 24 chapters, so I'm like almost halfway done. That's good. I am going to pack tonight to go on vacation, so I'm not going to be working on draft 2 of Dagger for a little while, but I'm going to start filming another vlog when I get back, and I will keep that vlog going until I am done draft 2. In my next vlog, I'm also going to have a more detailed plan for drafts, edits, revisions, like when I'm planning to get beta readers, because I was actually recently rewatching some of my writing vlogs from when I wrote Project Mayfair, my querying book, and I feel like in those vlogs, I wasn't really explaining like what draft I was on all the time. So honestly, I myself was confused. And I don't remember what draft it was last time that I sent to beta readers. So this time I'm gonna lay it all out very clearly, both so you know what's going on and so future me when I rewatch this will know what's going on. That's really it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to drop a comment, why don't you let me know, do you like short chapters, long chapters, or does it not matter to you? I would like to hear from you in the comment section. And if you're still here but you don't know what to comment, why don't you just comment a sparkly emoji down below? If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel grow and reach more people. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. I think that about covers it. Thank you so much for watching this writing vlog, and I hope you have a dazzling rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.